If we took a look at most elite athletes' training plans, we'd see that about 80% of their training is done at what we would call a lower intensity level, and only 20% of their runs are done at that higher intensity level. But Coach Morgan, I'm not a professional athlete, so I really shouldn't be training like them, right? Would this work for the general population who isn't that elite athlete? Coach Morgan here to change up the way you think about your running so that you can train smarter, not harder, and still be able to reach those PR goals. Look, while you're most likely going to improve if you're doing a lot of those hard back-to-back sessions right in the beginning, over time, you're gonna burn out. Our bodies really can't sustain that much high intensity strain repeatedly day after day. You're putting too much stress on the body, much more than needed. But you're gonna get much more out of those higher intensity sessions if you're doing the bulk of your training at that lower intensity, giving your body enough time to rest and recover so that you can hit those hard sessions super strong and super fresh. Turns out it's equally, if not arguably more important for the recreational runner to be training this way, because a lot of the times those recreational runners get their intensity levels all mixed up. A lot of times what they do is go out way too hard because they're only training maybe 4 days a week, so they think they have to really cram in that intensity and every workout has to be super hard and over the top, making this 80-20 running plan the holy grail of run fitness training for any level of runner training, really for any distance. So in that 80% of your runs, you're gonna want that heart rate really low. These are gonna be runs labeled like your long run, your easy run, your recovery run, things like that, where I should be at conversation pace or below. I should be able to go out on these runs and just have a nice full conversation, wave to the people, and not be hunched over and dying. And now that 20%, we really want to dial in on what we're doing in that time, because it's not a lot of time. So we want to make sure that we're doing it correctly. Because yes, no matter what your race is, we still want to practice that race pace and going above race pace. So let me give you some examples of some workouts that you can do for that 20%. But just before we do that, I want to not overcomplicate things. Say you can run 4 days a week and you're like, okay, well, if one of those runs is my hard run, like my interval run, my fartlek run, something where that heart rate is getting up really high, that's your hard day, okay? Then that means you have 3 other days to take it easy. So that comes out to 75% and 25%. That is close enough to the 80-20 plan that you do not have to stress about it. And yes, during those interval sessions, you may only be working hard for a short period of time, but your heart rate is still going up. You're still stressing the body a lot. That is your hard day. Even if you had 3 miles jogging warm up and jogging in between, that is still your high intensity day and still goes into that 20% bucket. These 20% runs from a heart rate standpoint should be somewhere above that 75% of your max heart rate. So in this 20%, we want to practice and instill confidence in being able to run that race pace. So to practice it, one of the things you can do is longer race pace intervals. Now, a lot of the time, one of the biggest mistakes that can happen around races is that we go out way too fast. We've just had this nice week of rest, we're getting all itchy, and we just want to jump right out the starting line. So doing these longer intervals at that race pace is really going to teach you what it feels like over that extended period of time to be in that zone. Another one of my favorites is a progression run. This is another great way to practice not going out too hard and building your way up to race pace. So for example, you can start out 2 minutes or so below your race pace for a mile, and every mile add on an additional 30 seconds faster until you hit race pace. Stay within that for a couple miles or so, depending on what distance race you're training for. Then hold that all the way until the end, and then you can have a mile or so of just resting down, coming easy. You want to work on staying consistent, keeping that race pace. You also want to spend some time above that race pace. That's how we're going to work on building that top end speed. These should be done for shorter periods of time with lots of rest built in between. You can also practice by simulating race day. Let's say you have a half marathon coming up. 3 weeks before the race, whatever day of the week your long run falls on, what I want you to do is a 10K race at the race pace of your half marathon. So let's say you want to aim for 7 30-minute miles during that half marathon in 3 weeks. You are going to prep yourself, wake up just like it's race day. I like to even wear the same clothes that I'm going to wear on race day, make sure everything's working okay. And I'm going to run that 10K at that 7:30 pace. Now, it's going to give me a really good indicator of where my fitness is at. Is this pace super easy to hold for that 10K? Is it way too hard? It's going to give you a better representation of where you're at and how that race is actually going to go. The kicker here is that you're actually doing it on tired legs, right? If you are following a race plan properly, as you should be, and if you need a little help with that, you know we always have your back, and you can check out down in the description below the link to our app. We have tons of programs in there from the 5K all the way up to the marathon. And as you know, we taper, we are recovered, we've really been pulling back that mileage. So for our half marathon, we're gonna be really fresh. But for that 10K, we're gonna be doing it on tired legs, which is going to help stimulate that half marathon when I'm tired towards the end of the race, and can I still hold my race pace? But as we said, for that 80%, for the majority of our runs, slow it down, guys. Slow it down. We wanna go slow to get faster. I will catch you guys in the next one, and happy racing.